which is essentially it's G.G. Allen performance art, like in the 70s.
Right,
and I'm not
yes.
exaggerating at all.
It is, yeah.
I'm not like G.G. Allen could open for them, and they'd be like, "Oh, cool, nice set." You know?
Motherfucking goddamn orange peel beef.
All right, everybody. It's one fucking hour time. I am Evan Husney. Tonight's birthday boy. That's right. It's my birthday episode of one fucking hour. And
Right.
yeah.
Happy birthday.
Woo!
One fucking birthday.
One fucking birthday. What does that mean? We're going to get into it in just a second here. To my left, we got at my birthday party here, Big T, Tom Fitzgerald. People wanted me to call you Tom Fitzgerald in the comments more. So Tom Fitzgerald, here he is.
Brett Stevens is here.
Glad to have you, Tom.
Google it.
Thanks so much for being a part of my birthday episode, and of course, also invited to my birthday. We have all the way to the right there. We got Mr. Marcus Herring. Marcus, welcome.
Thank you. It feels great to be when it's a 3-man birthday party, and I'm one of the 3 invited. So thanks for having me.
Ooh, you're welcome, man. Of course. So tonight,
More cake for each of us.
yes, there is cake. I'll distribute it after this fucking hour. All right, so tonight is episode 115 of the show, and it's a birthday episode. If this is your first time listening to a one fucking hour birthday episode, here's what that means. Okay, it's the only night of the year where if it's your birthday, you get to pick whatever the fuck we're doing tonight that you want. No notes, no pushback from the other guys, because believe me, there's normally a lot of pushback and a lot of notes from the other guys on what you want to do for your birthday episode. So, Tom historically on his birthday took us on, an Odyssey with Jerry Lewis and Cracking Up, a movie which we never would have watched or covered under any other circumstances.
Still talking about.
Marcus indulged us all with, Star Wars. What was Lucifer Rising, Slacker?
Yeah,
a lot of your faves. And so tonight, what I wanted to do is something breaking the mold of the show a little bit, not necessarily picking, just one film to cover. I had a hard time actually picking one film I wanted to talk about, for my birthday and subject you guys to that. But what I thought instead is, because I know people are curious about this and they want to hear from us on this. First off, I love lists. Okay. I've always loved top 10 movie lists. Growing up in the internet age as a film fan, I always went to the internet to see what other tastemakers, what other filmmakers, Martin Scorsese, other people, like when they would publish their top 10 favorite movies, I was always checking them out because I loved curation and I want to see what other cool people think is cool,
Like John Waters' top 10.
There you go. Of course, not saying we're cool, but what I wanted to do is I wanted to subject you guys to what hopefully will be a new format for this show that we're calling LISTOMANIA.
Whoa! Graphic.
Yeah, right. LISTOMANIA is going to be a new series where we're just going to make some lists of our top 10 whatever, top 5 this, whatever, and we're going to have fun with it. So tonight, to kick that off, I just said, fuck it, let's start big, high stakes. Tonight, we are going to unveil to our listeners what each of our respective top 10 favorite movies of all time are. Holy shit. Now,
damn.
Now, you guys don't think list, right?
We don't know what each other's picks are.
Right.
Really, like the envelopes are all sealed.
Yeah.
And Port Waterhouse. What's that shit? The Oscars. Anybody know what I'm referring to?
I do not, but
No.
I take your word for it.
So we don't know, and this is as much a surprise to you guys listening and watching as to each of us individually. We don't know. We're
Right.
in the dark.
So we're going to unveil to each of us, to each everybody here, and to you, what our top 10 favorite movies of all time are. But it should be noted, I'm a list guy. You guys aren't list-minded. You don't think in lists like I do.
I feel very vulnerable. First of all, putting out my favorites. I don't like doing that, and then I also, I don't think in lists really. I just like, I like them all. Why do I have to pick one?
I know. It's unfair. I'm just kind of OCD in that way, and I like curation. And I don't know. I just want to hear what I'm curious if you guys had a gun to your head, an automatic rifle to your head, what would the 10 films you could only, bring with you to an island or.
And that's fair. Like, let's just put it this way for myself. It's like, it's an exercise that I don't commit to myself. I don't toss that ball around in my own head. But it was an interesting exercise to do that. I was assigned this because you're the birthday boy and you get whatever the hell you want. And so I did it, and it wasn't uninteresting, but it does show that my head otherwise doesn't do that stuff.
It can be a very rewarding exercise. And in fact, I was just thinking about the origins of the show, Lay, in like the first time we were all on a text thread together. Evan saying, "What were your top 5 Black Sabbath songs?"
I know.
And I had to sit there and think about it.
Yeah, that's me, man.
He does this with everybody.
I do. I want to know the tops, man, the top of the top. So, that should be pretty fun tonight. And just so it's clear, just so we can have this on record, this is not a top 10, what you think the top 10 best movies ever made list is. It's what is your top 10 favorite movies, and that can mean a lot of things to a lot of different people. But it's really like rewatchability might be a factor in your list. Comfort food might be, or wow, that was the most amazing thing I've ever seen. Personally, I didn't approach mine with much in the way of nostalgia in mind. I just tried to think like now looking back today, at 10 p.m. at night on September, whatever the day is we're recording. These are the 10 films to me that right now, if you asked me, these would be my 10. It might change tomorrow. It might change in a year. It might not really change in 5 years. I can't tell you. But that's it right now.
But to your point, it's and we talked about this a bit. Like this is a subjective list, not a tie to cinema.
Yes.
Whatever kind of listing.
Exactly.
That's like an aggregation of like critics and stuff like that. It's just like our own idiosyncratic selections.
Exactly. Boom, boom, boom. There you go. Nail on the head. All right. So that's what we're doing tonight. And then just real quick. Before we get into that, got to do a little piece of business. Shout out to the One Fucking Hour Patreon. Patreon.com/onefuckinghour is the best way to support the show. If you like what we're doing, it's just $5 a month and you get access to all of our bonus content. You get 24-hour early access to all the shows before everybody else does. Sounds pretty good, right? And we just put up a new fucking bonus episode, which pairs very nicely with tonight's episode, which is another listomania, if you will.
Right.
We picked, in light of our recent 90s film series, which we just completed. Congrats, everyone. We did a separate bonus episode that's only up on the Patreon that is covering our favorite 90s albums. Our favorite 90s albums, one album from each year of the 90s. And boy, was that fun. We went to town. And
that was a ball.
I could not have predicted either of your guys' lists, and it was great. It was
likewise. Yeah, there was a lot. I had a lot of fun.
It was
there was a spooky moment when out of nowhere, things that I would have never expected. A couple of us picked the same weird, obscure album, and I'm like,
that was weird.
That was
get
weird.
the funk out of here.
That was weird. That was really creepy.
I felt really good about our lists afterwards too.
Me too.
Yeah, I think we nailed the 90s.
Me too, and I
stand by it.
Sure.
Me too. I downloaded
the 90s aren't the bad decade.
No.
That was next decade.
Right.
Right.
But it was great. I downloaded your guys' picks. I got some new playlists over here. So very excited. But the only way you can hear that is up on the Patreon, or if you become a Momen of the YouTube channel, which you can do by clicking on our profile pic, going to our YouTube channel homepage, and click the join button. Same price, just $5 a month as the Patreon. Same benefits, same bullshit. But we appreciate the support just the same. So thank you guys. All right. Are you guys ready?
Yeah. Get to join in the moment.
Yeah, right. There you go. There you go. Moment up. All right, guys. Are you ready? And now, real quick, before I commence this, we're still under and adhering to the hour clock rule for tonight. So that means if you do the math, 10 films each. That's 30 films we're going to discuss tonight. That means you guys have got about approximately 2 minutes per film to talk.
There's a sub clock.
Yeah, there's a sub clock.
2 fucking minutes.
2 fucking minutes is all you get.
Tonight's show, really.
All right, so So we're going to start things off with my number 10. Then we're going to go to Tom's number 10, Marcus's number 10, and then of course we'll go to our 9s and so on. So Are you guys ready? Because once I start the clock, I'm going to just get off to the races.
No runner-ups. Just
no runner-ups. This is it. And these are going to be in order, guys, from 10 to 1. So,
sure.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. Here comes the clock. Whew, deep breath. Okay. Boom. Okay. My number 10 is a film you guys have heard me talk about before, actually on a bonus episode we did when we talked about the movies that made us. This was one of the movies I selected. I couldn't not have it be on my top 10 list. So we're going to start off egghead and we're going to start off pretentious here. Number 10 is Alcazar Balthazar from 1966, directed by Robert Bresson. Okay. I was a huge fan of Robert Bresson, just discovered him, of course, collecting the Criterion Collection. This movie, of course, follows a donkey as he is passed from owner to owner. Some of them cruel, some of them not, some of them caring. And it's a film about a fucking donkey whose life parallels, his first keeper, this girl Marie, as he is this beast of burden and suffering the sins of humankind and that type of thing. But what was really inspiring to me and why I picked this is because Bresson is all about the reduction of cinema. He's all about cinema in its purest form. Fuck theatrical acting, fuck expectations. I'm going to reduce everything down to the most critical and essential qualities of filmmaking, which is editing. That's what makes movies is sequential imagery. It's like that Khrushchev effect, the shot of a man and then a shot of a bowl of soup, and that's like, oh, he's hungry, It harkens back to that. And that's what this movie, you can't get more extreme in reduction of cinema than making your lead character an animal, a donkey, And what's really impressive about this movie is how he employs, sound, editing, off-screen space, off-screen sound, those types of things to communicate the emotion in the film. And that was always so inspiring to me. It's not coming from anything else than the collection of these images in this specific order. So for me, I could interchange this film with maybe a few of his other movies like Pickpocket or Mouchette, but Balthazar for me made such a huge emotional impact on me, and I still think about it to this day, the very first time I saw it over 15 years ago. So that's my number 10.
Nice. So with me, my number 10 is maybe the other side of the spectrum. It's 1968's Candy. Okay, Candy. Now, it's one of those, 60s films. It's overstuffed with trying to be with it, and everything's psychedelic, and there's go-go dancing, and it's like laughing kind of thing. But it's actually quite weird. I saw it when I was a child. It was on like unscrambled late night cable, and I didn't understand what's going on. And Candy's a lot weirder, and this is why I love it, and this is why I'm mentioning it. I think it's the most far out of the expensive Hollywood attempts to be with it and late 60s and part of the counterculture, right? Like there's scenes when I was a kid, I was watching it. It's like James Coburn is a surgeon, and he's putting a long dipstick into this guy's brain, and it goes in and in and in, and then he pulls it out, and it's all bloody. And I'm like, what am I watching? Like, it's not funny, it's not a comedy, it's not sexy, it's just bizarre. And there's another scene later in the film where there's a little person who's pounding on a piano and throwing while a woman's making love on a piano, and he's throwing pillows, and the feathers are flying everywhere over, and I'm like, what is happening? It's a very what is happening film. And then there's of course the moment when Marlon Brando is playing a guru, and he has an ashram temple in a pickup in a large 8-wheeler truck that he's carrying around the country. It's a very Ringo Starr is a Mexican gardener. It's weirder than maybe you think. It's not good, but it's super bizarre, and it's to me the most extreme example where there's all this big 20th Century Fox money, and everyone went like, wait, what did we just do? And everyone's stoned who made it, and it was a big flop, and I'm a big fan. Candy.
I love it. Marcus?
I love that. I'd say I love that film. I love the music, and it was on my short list.
Ooh.
But anyway, so
Cool.
Okay, so I'm gonna go kind of Criterion too with my number 10, but it was a formative film, and we haven't talked about this person yet. So 1966 Blow Up was a big film for me growing up. Like, for me it started with Led Zeppelin, and I was super into Led Zeppelin, the Yardbirds, and my dad said, check out this movie. They're actually in it. So my hero Jimmy Page is in there. Is he the one smashing the guitar? I forget now. Maybe it's Jeff. It's Jeff. But So anyway, but then watching the movie, I was really blown away too, just by the fact that there's this event that happens in the film. A body's found, and you never find out how it happened. So it really stays with you. There's this amazing sequence. The amazing sequence where he's actually blowing up the negative is like one of the best sequences in the film ever. And it's just it's really quiet, right? And you're just kind of living in that world of of the image getting bigger and bigger, and just a still image on screen. A still image shot with film is like one of my favorite things in a movie. Just seeing that grain and seeing that slight little gate weave and stuff. It's one of the best. So anyway, I don't think we've covered Antonioni yet in this show. Which is
it's a travesty
weird,
that we haven't, but we need to.
But anyway, I thought it is one of my faves, and I think it forever will be. David Hemmings is awesome in it too, and he's also had some weird records and stuff and appearances in other cool movies. So
right on.
Great
choice, man. Love that film.
I love it.
Okay, my number 9. This is a big one. We've covered it on the show before, so shout out. It's in the archives if you want to hear us do a full hour on it. But I love it. I had to include it. It's so me in so many different ways. I'm sure you guys would agree. Number 9, This is Spinal Tap from 1984. is so monumental to me, and it really is something that plays a lot into a lot of the themes of the movies that by accident are similar. This idea of like hard authenticity, meeting the ridiculousness and the patheticness or the pathetic comedy of mankind. There's a lot of through line with that in a lot of the movies that I picked. But this movie is masterful in its observance of quirks and idiosyncrasies of mankind. It's so lived in, the fact that it's the subject of an aging metal band aging out of their own time, and that's so specific. What a crazy, weird, specific thing that exists. It shouldn't exist. And in fact, it's so real that, a lot of bands of that era, a lot of those 70s hard rock bands that didn't quite cut it as the 80s, went on, that they found this film to be too terrifying, because it was too real, and to me, it's just like nothing else in this sort of mockumentary style really it's never topped this. This is the quintessential of that style, incorporating the doc element, and just getting all and making it cinematic and making the coverage still incredible. To me, it's just, I could, this movie is comfort food to me. I could put it on anytime, any day. I've seen it 400 times. I know every line, every angle of it. And, it's amazing. And it's incredible that this really exists. So shout out to, that movie, Spinal Tap. Love it.
Great film. And the uncut work print is recommended because it becomes even more of like a serious documentary. Okay. So my pick is Goodfellas. How about that for number 9? We've covered it. If we're talking about favorites, comfort food, watching it, there were a few years where I would just throw this on like all the time. And I do love Scorsese, who doesn't? And he has all these other classic films. But there's something about this film. I saw this first in 1990. I went to the movies. I wasn't really thinking. I didn't know anything about the film. I didn't know it had come out. I was like, oh, Scorsese, okay. And I was blown away. And this is one of the rules I was thinking of with this list is right when it ended, that incredible moment that so surprised me. Like, why am I now listening to Sid Vicious and Pesci's shooting a gun at me? Like, whoa, such a bold, awesome, weird kind of fuck you ending that you don't see. It's not wrapped up moralistically,
right,
or sentimentally or anything. There's no life lessons. Just like fuck, like Sid Vicious. I really went to myself like, that was a perfect movie. In the sense that I had a ball. It was a roller coaster ride. It's funny. It's entertaining. When I was watching Do You Think I'm a Clown? It's weird to say, like, because the movie just came out like that week. I was like, wait a minute. I'm watching a classic scene. This is going to be 50 years from now, like, like play it again, Sam. And
That's awesome.
And that's weird when you get that goosebumps, like this is huge, like the way it's playing out, his performance. So we covered it, and everybody and their grandma knows it. But if you're talking about favorites, major comfort food, I listened to this, excuse me, I made my own version of the soundtrack because, you have to grab all the songs. The music is on point. Martin Scorsese, music supervising his own shit. It's a time and a place, the attention to detail. It's spooky, it's creepy, it's funny. It's Goodfellas, so it's on my list. Number 9.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
Marcus?
Awesome. So number 9 for me, I had to go. I felt like I really wanted to include a doc on my list. So for me, Atomic Cafe from 1982. I've talked about it a lot with Tom and Evan over the years, and it's been a really huge inspiration for me, and like the stuff that we do with our side project EXP TV. It's a documentary about the atomic bomb and atomic bomb hysteria in the 40s, 50s, and beyond. But it's done 100% with archival footage. And so, what's everyone's favorite part of these old archival docs? The archival footage. And they tell the entire story with that. I always hated the VH1 style docs where they cut to the voice, some celebrity or whatever, and they're like, atomic bomb was a crazy time, or whatever. Like the 50s were nuts, and this movie doesn't do that at all. And it's just really, I just find it inspiring. I had to look up who the directors were because I don't even know, but I love this movie, 100% archival
That's cool.
footage documentary. So
awesome.
Atomic Cafe.
My number 8, again, had to pick a doc for my list as well. And sort of talk about, non-traditional, and, rewatchability was something that, it was interesting to think about making this list, because this film isn't one that I always want to just put on, but its impact on me was indelible. It's just was huge. And of course, we've covered it on the show before, but I'm talking about Streetwise, of course, by Martin Bell is my number 8.
Nice.
Documenting the life of street kids in Seattle in the mid 80s. And it's a heart-wrenching, heartbreaking film, and that's maybe what limits its rewatchability because it's so intense. But for me, why it's inspiring and why I've gravitated towards it is its approach. The way that they're sort of, making a Terrence Malick movie, but using real people, as the actors. They're still treating this, even though it's a doc, as a real cinematic experience. It's incredible that they did all these audio interviews. You don't see sit-down interviews. They just did the interviews, with audio, and then married that to picture and created great montage, around audio interviews. Is incredible. And they're really, obviously harnessing the authenticity of these people, to create a very emotional, impactful piece of cinema. And, while also being conscious of the camera placement and coverage. And it's really a masterclass in verite doc style filmmaking that to me is it just blew my fucking mind. And, and of course, just the impact of it and the empathy you feel towards these kids. And especially in the last act, it's like some of the most punishing stuff. And it's hard for it not to have it had such an impact on me. It's like after watching it, that's when you sit back and go, I've never seen anything like this or anything that's had this close of a power, So that's my number 8 pick, Streetwise. It's in the archives. Awesome. Yeah.
Outstanding. 8 for me is, this is an obscure one, so bear with me for a second. It's Krishna Shah's Rivals, 1972 film. It stars Scott Jacoby, who people might know, who's Bad Ronald. He's also in Little Girl Is Down the Lane. A great film. I stumbled on it on like late night TV. Cool. It's 1972, and it's one of my favorite subjects, which is a precocious child. And he's got about like 10 years old, and he's like a wannabe filmmaker, and he gets all his classmates to make weird sort of avant-garde cut-up films. And he's precocious in every way except emotionally. So he's a smart kid. He's read Proust, that kind of thing. It's I knew kids like this, like Upper West Side, New York, Jewish kind of intellectualized, household. But he's immature, and his father died, so his mother's seeing other men, so he becomes jealous, hence the Rivals. I won't get into it too much, but it starts off Freudian and weird and twisted and kind of dark, and then it becomes a huge bummer. and it's crushing emotionally. And Scott is a great actor for like being like 10 years old. And it's a deep cut gem. Rivals is my pick. It goes from nightmare surreal imagery to comedy, like skit scenes of him making the schoolyard films, and it's also a great picture. It's one of those movies of a nice 1972 like New York City environment that he's in. But yeah, I'm all about precocious kids. This is one of the greats for me.
See,
Rival.
That's awesome, because now I gotta watch that.
Yeah.
And I would not have
It's
known
one of those
that.
picks that now I'm like second guessing my list. I'm like, damn, that's a really cool pick.
That's a good pick.
But I knew I would expect nothing less from you. So okay, so my number 8. This is probably on a lot of top 10 lists, but I did rewatch it today to see if it was worth it.
Oh.
But so I'm gonna have to go. I'm serious. I really do love this film, 1982's Tootsie.
Yes.
Okay,
Hell yeah.
Nice.
I grew up watching it. It's probably one of the first, big people movies I watched as a kid. We had it on cassette. I watched it a lot. It probably poisoned my brain as to what, thinking like what's going on in my parents' heads, and it does kind of show like what was some of the paranoias and anxieties of the baby boomers at that in the early 80s.
Mm-hmm.
So some great, it's really, but there's the whole cross-dressing thing, but I think I'm not even like really paying attention to that anymore. It's more, and none of the cross-dressing jokes really are like landing for me. I'm like living in the actor world. It is just a movie about actors. It's directed by a great actor, Sidney Pollack, and just really from the opening shots, digging into all the makeup kit and all that stuff, and it's a great movie just about acting and the lengths that you could go to where you're actually acting in your everyday life. So, and I watched it again today just to make sure it was hilarious, and had a great time. Bill Murray is awesome in it, and I just will always remember his the lines that he came up with, like that he improv in it. There's one where he's like, I want to open a theater that's only open when it rains, or like silly lines like that. Anyway,
Tootsie, man.
1982. I love it.
Nice. Cool. Right on. All right. My number 7, guys. This is one that stuck with me since childhood, actually. This is one that did stick on the list for a long time. I'd be fucking lying to myself if I didn't put this on the list, so I don't care how it makes me look. No, I'm kidding. This movie's fucking badass. This movie, big fucking deal to me, and that is The Terminator from 1984 by James Cameron. Look, man, it's just the best fucking sci-fi action movie concept ever. It captivated me then. I'm in awe of it today. You got to remember, before Terminator 2, which I also loved as a kid, for sure, but this movie is even just so much more special because it's almost more DIY. It's like, this is a $6 million film, very small film that made such a huge world. And of course, just the concept, a fucking cyborg assassin is sent back in time to try to kill, a future adversary to change the outcome of the future, and fucking, Armageddon and shit. I love that the power of this movie to create a concept like that on a small budget that really is the stakes of the universe, but it's just one person chasing after another person, and I think that's just incredible. I think that's what captivated so many people about it. And what I also love about it is the gritty texture of that movie, the fucking neon noir texture, the greens and the blues. It's just so intoxicating visually. And one little anecdote that I love that's always spoke to what James Cameron would become is Brad Fidel, the guy that did the theme song to Terminator. When he went in to meet James Cameron for the first time to pitch on doing the soundtrack for the film, he's seen a million of these cyborg robot movies, that other people would pitch him, and he'd heard all these kind of exploitation pitches before, and he's sitting there being like, okay. And as James is enthusiastically describing what this movie's going to be and the stakes of the universe, and he's like, okay, man, whatever. Right before he does make the cool-ass soundtrack, he gets the film in, and he's like, everything that guy said is exactly the way he said it. It's exactly the way he described it. And that never fucking happens. So hats off.
I'm sure Yeah, because the composer was probably used to what winds up being like a Mystery Science Theater kind of movie.
Yeah, exactly. Or like a
Sci-fi.
Roger Corman movie or something. And this just
Yeah.
winds up being fucking all cylinders. So Terminator, I'd be a liar if I didn't say it's got to be on here somewhere. It's the coolest movie,
love
arguably,
that.
ever. So
I
there you
love
go.
Arnold.
The list. So 7, I'm losing track already.
Seven, yeah.
For Tom.
Yep.
7 for Tom. Woody Allen, Stardust Memories.
Ooh.
Oh, good one.
Yeah. 1980. I like all of his other stuff, especially
Good
around
pick.
that time. And I watched them, but this is his second sort of black and white silvery movie after Manhattan. Also, it was reviled
Yeah.
because, I don't know, every other shot are grotesque depictions of his fans. Like, can I have your autograph?
Yeah.
And they're like, they have like cleft palates and stuff. It's like, what is he doing? But it's beautifully shot. I don't remember who the cinematographer is, but it looks great. It's got a great sour tone. It starts off with that faux Fellini thing of like the two different trains. And it's a little hackneyed, but I think it still felt also in the conceit of the film. It's the ending scene of the Woody Allen character's film. So it is a film scene within a film. It's got a real melancholy, sour feeling. It ends on like a quiet, somber, not even somber, excuse me, a quiet kind of like anticlimactic bummer thing. It's really a bummer film. Also, I must say, Woody Allen thinks it's just about his best film.
Yeah.
He doesn't like Manhattan. He's like Stardust Memories. Fuck with that.
Yeah.
I love it. It's like it's not in Manhattan. It's like in this weird resort area in New Jersey. It cuts to fantasies. And again, the fantasies are like everything's very low key in the film, and it's a headspace and it's kind of a pace. And that's why I return to it a lot. It's like it's a mood, Yeah. And like one little anecdote too that I love about it, it's a mood. Is like in his apartment, it's always shifting because of the reality of the film shifts. That he has these gigantic photographic murals, and one is like Groucho Marx, but then another one is that Viet Cong soldier getting shot in the head.
Oh yeah.
And because it changes in the mood of like where he's at in his apartment. It's like, what the fuck, dude?
Yeah, dude.
So it's an odd one, and people don't fuck with it, and people should check it out. Even if you don't like Woody Allen, you should look into it.
Great pick. I'm jealous. Great movie. Something as you're saying it now, we should do it. We got to do an hour on that movie soon.
I'd love to.
Yeah.
I'm loaded for bear.
Marcus?
Absolutely. Okay, so so this one also goes back to the past for me. Just a movie that I've always loved. I don't, and I always will. But it's a flawed movie, but I love it, and it was formative for me. I'm gonna have to go with 1965's Help. Is it the best Beatles movie? No. Is it a little like hard to watch today? like because some of the portrayals of people. Yes, but if you look past that, it's got. We're so lucky to have a film where the Beatles are together, acting goofy. They all live together in the same house. It's sort of like a fantasy version of the Beatles. It's super fun.
They're in color.
Yeah, they're in color. Got some great performances. I saw it so many times as a kid. I had it memorized. I would make friends that way. I would know another like Beatles junkie, by if they could quote the film or whatever. So. It's just a very important film for me. I think I would always, when I was looking at this list, I was trying to think of like a film that I would unequivocally stand by. And I'll always love this film, despite its flaws or whatever,
I love that.
Yeah, Richard Lester did a great job on it. And
it was on my short list, actually.
Oh, really?
Really?
Yeah. Well, I was thinking all those Beatles movies, and that's kind of the preferred for me. Got to Hide Your Love Away scene is really touching, and when Lennon got shot, that's what the networks would always cut to is his performance and help of you got to hide your love away.
Oh, whoa.
There you go.
That's wild.
Nice
Amazing.
pick. All right, number 6. Number 6, kind of a proxy for could be other films by this filmmaker. In some ways, but this is the one I'm going with. I love it. And I've always been a big prog rock guy. And so this is kind of my prog rock entry on my list. And I'm talking Werner Herzog and a film we've covered before. I'm talking Aguirre, Wrath of God at number 6. Just that imagery, man, of the Popol Vuh soundtrack playing over the imagery of the cascading hills and the fog. one of the best images I've ever seen in a movie. We talked about this in the episode, but it's so fucking awesome that, you know, Herzog brings almost a handheld doc realism to a story set in the 1500s, like as if there was a documentary crew there, you know, capturing all this. And it's amazing. It kind of is this concept of historical fiction. It's like a really, you know, great early example of that. And one of the great haunting visions of cinema too. You know, this idea of following that slow descent into madness of these characters who are on this journey in the Amazon, and almost a comically pointless, delusional journey as well too. And of course, to take like the tension of also that's leaping at you through the screen by taking someone who is as insane in real life as Klaus Kinski and putting him on a raft in the middle of the fucking river, you know, and then also having the dedication of a crew to brave the elements of this very real, hostile, you know, natural place, and to make this movie. And it's almost like the movie in itself becomes a meta documentary of the making of the movie in a lot of ways. Not that they actually embrace that, but that's just the way it feels. Like they lived the same life as the characters in the film do, I feel like, in order to achieve this movie. And you got to respect that, and you got to love that. And this movie kind of exemplifies that to me the most for his films. And so, yeah, got to have a Herzog on there for me, and this is the one I picked. Aguirre, motherfuckers.
And nice. Literally prog rock with the Popol Vuh soundtrack, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, you know, for sure.
So, shortlist core for me on that one too.
Oh,
so,
nice.
6, right? Okay.
Yep.
Where are we?
Mm-hmm. Yep, 6.
6. Okay. Like you said, proxy. For me, this is a proxy somewhat of quote unquote the new Hollywood, the Hollywood films that were trying to capitalize on the success of the audience that was discovered when Easy Rider was a huge hit. The BBS scene. So this is my one, like, you know, you were saying, like, representation of that scene. For me, it's 5 Easy Pieces, 1970. Great film, of course. This is where everyone really got to know Jack Nicholson. I watched this one with, you know, again, I think I'm really realizing in real time, like, it's a mood thing. Like that is a mood I want sometimes. And there's that montage when he's walking around after his paycheck, you know, and it's dark, and he's walking around the, like, dumb town and, like, going to pool halls and diners and stuff. It's shot so amazing. Laszlo Kovacs, you know, the king of the lens for that scene, that, you know, New Hollywood scene. It's a sour film. When I first saw it, I did not know that there'd be this weird pivot where he's actually not a working class shit kicking guy.
Wow.
Working in the fields, but he's actually like this classically trained rich boy who's, like, really lost. And also, I think it's just about the best depiction of being, like, super lost. Like, lost in general, philosophically, like, existentially, like a lot of people can be, but that generation too. And there's that next to last shot where he just looks at himself in the mirror and he's making that decision, like, you know what? She's in the bathroom. I'm just going to drive away from this gas station. And there's Bob Ryfson, the director, chooses to have all that action of the ending of the moment just be this really like distant shot of the gas station and the car, and you just see him really from the distance, like you're across the street. Get in the car, leave. She comes out of the bathroom. It's like, where is he? You know, fade to black. Great film. Again, very melancholy, and it's bifurcated. I love that. There's, like, the first half, second half, and so 5 Easy Pieces, the New Hollywood. That's my pick for that scene.
They don't make them like they used to. I'll tell you that. That's a great pick.
Awesome.
Marcus?
Okay. Yeah. So wait, sorry, we're on number 6 or number 5? 6. Okay. So 6, this is a little bit prog core in a way for me too. So I'm going to go with, I mentioned this movie a lot in the show. It's a weird one that I love, Risky Business. I've always loved this movie. You know, a lot of it is the music for me, you know, by Tangerine Dream. And it's pulled from, like, their other 70s albums, you know, but it's kind of like an 80s interpretation of their, like, peak 70s work, you know. But it took, like, what would have been it could have been any old teen comedy, like, you know, say 80s teen comedy, like Say Anything or whatever, but they put this hypnotic, contemplative soundtrack over it, and it elevates it to another level for me, where, you know, my mind is imagining what's going on in their heads, and they're just, like, quietly glancing at each other and the music's playing. And so it's a little bit participatory for me, where I'm, you know, it just takes, the music and the image together transport me to another place. And that is what film is, right? It's just all these art forms mixed together. So, it could have been just kind of a throwaway teen movie, but, they really took it to another level for me. And I don't know. I think Tom Cruise is great. And Rebecca De Mornay, amazing in it. And Booger, from Revenge of the Nerds. So yeah, anyway, I don't know. I don't have that much to say about it, but I love this film, Risky Business. So.
Okay.
I think it's grossly underrated. I think it's a very interesting film. I think it gets overshadowed by, whatever that, Tom Cruise in his underwear. Yeah.
Oh, right. I forgot about that.
But it is a very interesting film. It's a dark film. It's like sexually weird. There's a lot going on there, and also I think a contender that we could dive into at some point. Okay, my number 5. So hard to settle on just one movie, and I didn't have any restrictions of one movie per director or anything, but it was hard to settle on one of this person's films. But it's just monumental for me. I went with the one that made the biggest impact on me at the time that I saw it, because it's more my generation. Number 5, we've covered it before. Mulholland Drive. Okay. Mulholland Drive, David Lynch, number 5. Monster film. But yeah, I mean, to me, it was, we always talk about, fugue state cinema as being something we love. And that really interests me. The idea that he had the freedom to basically set this film, like the setting of the film is inside the guilty conscience of another person, and that to me is so fucking awesome. And how, he's able to create nightmares and guilt and all these different emotions, playing in a totally different set of rules for a film that's set like that. It transcends these normal conventions of, what a film can be. And also utilizing metaphorical set pieces, like Winkies, as something that represents something else, and like a different type of truth can be, extrapolated from that. I think it's something where, David Lynch explored these ideas, a lot in Lost Highway, and to great effect. But I think that movie kind of walked so this movie could run in a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. And I think it's whatever he's trying to get at with cinema and what he's trying to do with all the tools that he has in his toolbox, he uses to the most effectiveness in this film. I do like Blue Velvet a lot, and it was hard to pick. And I like Fire Walk With Me a lot too. But Mulholland Drive, at the end of the day, I just felt to be the richest in terms of what there is there to talk about. So, yeah, that's my number 5.
The monster. So we're at 5. Yep. Mine is Shoot the Moon, 1982. Alan Parker, who you might otherwise know with The Wall, and what is it? Fame, actually. No, Shoot the Moon's very special. First off, what I'm saying is I never have many expectations with Alan Parker as a director, but it probably is reflective of he probably went through a painful divorce. That's what the film's about. It's about a couple that has a bunch of still like prepubescent kids, and no one's taking the divorce very well. Diane Keaton, great performance. Albert Finney, great performance. And the kids, great performance, including I fucking forgot her name, but the oldest daughter. It's an incredible performance by this actress, Dana something, and it's written by Bo Goldberg, the guy who he got the Oscar for One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Right.
And I think that a lot of the heat of this film and the engine that makes it so special is that really good script. And I think he was going through or had gone through a painful divorce too, Goldman. So
and Albert Finney
about it.
Albert Finney is on fire. Sorry.
Albert Finney's on fire. And also Dan Keaton. And just like the painful emotions that are right on the surface are very affecting, including and especially the MVP performance of the young actress, not Dana Gold, but something. Mm-hmm. And there's a scene where I'll just break it down maybe by a moment. He becomes very violent. Albert Finney wants to get back in and give his goddamn daughter her birthday gift. Mm-hmm. So it's become a horror movie like, and he's smashing open the door and breaking the window to get into the door. And he comes up and he's greeted by his daughter, who's holding a knife and saying, "I hate you, I hate you, I hate you." And she's crying and she's angry and she's sad, and they kind of embrace. It's very, very heavy. And then the last scene in the film is very, very heavy. And then it cuts to the Eagles haunting. I can't tell you why. which is
Yeah.
a great song written by the other guy, not the usual guys. And when I hear that song, I think of this movie. I think about like October and the fall, and it's just a very Octobery, fall, Novembery even kind of movie.
It's great. It's a fucking gem. We got to also
We should-
cover that.
Oh, definitely.
ASAP.
Randy mentioned it once.
Great choice. Big ending. Great choice. Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead, Marcus.
Okay. So number 5. So a big part of just my relationship with movies is loving trashy movies, loving bad movies, loving rip-off movies. And so I wouldn't, I needed to include one on my list. I've talked about this movie all the time. I actually own a 35 millimeter print of it. Yes, it's Lady Terminator.
Shit.
So it's related to Evan's number 7 Terminator, right?
Yeah.
So it's an Indonesian ripoff of Terminator, and it takes all the American, the Indonesian director absorbed all the tropes of American cinema and then rolled it back up with some Indonesian folk tales that seemed really alien and out there for us, and served it up to the audience. And then it's dubbed, of course, so it's got some fun moments, some fun dialogue moments. There's a really great character in there. I can't remember his name right now, but he's got like a mullet. He's an American guy, and he's like, his lines are like "fucking A," and it's so funny. Like it's a lot of it is just tied to the first time I saw it, like the like a long time ago, almost 20 years ago or something. The Alamo took a bunch of people on a bus out to a drive-in, and we watched this movie.
So cool.
And I think I bought the print from that same guy, but my sides were aching the first time I saw it. Like I haven't laughed so hard, maybe even since, in a movie. And I just became obsessed with it. I screened it every time I could. I like I said, I bought the print, and I tell everybody about it. So Lady Terminator 1988.
I think a lot of dicks get shot in that movie, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, she does shoot a lot of people in the dicks, and it opened up a whole world of like Mondo Macabro to me and all that stuff. So it was
All right, my number 4. Okay, we're getting into the first crossover. Okay,
Shit.
my number 4. Again, I'd be a liar if it wasn't on my list. It's painfully obvious, but who the fuck cares? It's Goodfellas. It's number 4. Again, talk about authenticity meeting human comedy. It's so amazing because on its surface level, as a story, it's a very simple story of mobsters, conventional mob story. But there's so many choices and so many details and so many things that are lingered on in this film that don't have to do with anything that really propel the story forward or add anything other more than just intriguing imagery, humorous moments, character moments. It's so obviously lived in, and of course if I could pick The Sopranos on this list I would, but this is kind of the proxy for that. It's just because it created that sort of vibe of just really taking these kind of mobster guys and finding the what's funny about them, but also what's terrifying about them and what's exhilarating about them and seductive about them, while also creating this very modern pop film. The idea of just all these different techniques that now we probably take so much, or other people might take for granted, that really started here. And so for me, again, if we're talking about Warren Blanky, it's something I can always watch anytime it's on TV. I'll always stop, watch the whole thing. And I love it. It's an amazing film that captures, the authenticity of fools, failure, idiosyncrasy, and never gets old to me. So if I'm talking about a favorite movie, it's Goodfellas. For my Scorsese pick.
One dog goes this way. One dog's looking that way.
Oh, no, yeah.
Missing child alert.
So this is my holy shit. That distracted me. This is
my number 4.
My 4, right?
Yep, 4.
Okay. Yeah, my 4. Walkabout. We covered it on the show.
Woo!
Nicholas Roeg. It's a monster. There's no way a top 10 for me could not include this film. I saw it when I was like 4 years old. Well, I saw it when I was exactly the age of that little boy.
I love that.
Left a huge impression on me. But then I've watched it as an adult, and I'm like, there's moments where there's Stockhausen playing, the avant-garde composer, and there's incredible nature footage, and the film just disappears, narrative disappears, and you're watching a lizard for 4 minutes, but weird Stockhausen music. It's incredible. It's also heartbreaking, and the incredible John Barry score, those last notes of that music that is so beautiful. I almost cannot listen to that. Like his score for that film, when she's embracing her, conventional,
Yeah.
like civilization boyfriend, and she's got that faraway look in her eyes because she knows like that beautiful moment where they were naked and free and connected with like nature is gone, and she's living in the cubicle world with traffic. It's really heartbreaking, like on a human race scale. Brilliant film. Nicholas wrote, never killed it more, in my opinion. And it defines why, I always mention and keep referring back to the early 70s because shit like Walkabout happened. So that's it.
Great. Awesome. Marcus,
Great.
number 4.
Okay, so number 4, we've also covered this in the show, All That Jazz. Bob Fosse's movie. There's not quite another movie like it, and it's, it really gets inside. It's so inventive and creative, and these amazing setups, and I just find some of the movies on my list, they're like they inspire me. I watch them and I want to go out and make a movie afterwards, and this is one of those films for me. I'm like, wow, movies could be anything, and it's just a great film, amazing performance by Roy Scheider. We covered it on the show. It's in the archives. Too bad Alan Alda didn't make the cut, so we could have had All That Jazz.
All the jazz.
If you want to know more about it, watch the episode because I think we did a pretty good job covering it.
Oh yeah, and just the open heart surgery, cross cutting, the editing, of Fosse's movies are always so top notch, and one of our early episodes was that, so awesome. All right, number 3 for me is a film. Hopefully, I'm going to force on you all to do one of these weeks for the show. Here we go. This is a big one. This movie is, talk about, again, not something I want to watch every day, but a movie, when I saw it, I was like, damn, is that the best movie I've ever seen? Like ever, maybe? And I'm talking about Come and See from 1985 by Alim Klimov. It's, explores the horrors of war. It's about Nazi forces encroaching small villages in Belarus. Sounds like a very fun time, of course. And features one of the greatest non-actor performances ever in any film ever. I will fight people for that. It's from the POV of a teenager who delivers this unbelievable performance, who joins the Soviet resistance fighters during that time, during the war. And it's basically his first person of the waking nightmare and anguish, carnage, and cruelty that is what was happening there. It's one of the most visceral films I've ever seen. But not in the way you may think. For years, I was scared to watch it because I thought it would be this extremely graphic and unfun movie, like in the way like a Mondo movie might be, or like a something like that. But it's not that way. It's visceral because of its searing like emotionality and the power that the film has. And I think it's some of the most successful fever dream nightmare set pieces I've ever seen captured on film. In terms of just the way that the filmmaker utilizes all the tools at his disposal, just unbelievable crane shots, unbelievable set pieces. There's a shot in the film I will never forget, which is when the kid is escaping his village and he's running, trying to find where his family and all of his people he knows that were there. He's come back to his home village and it's a ghost town. And then he starts running away from the village, turns back and sees a pile of dead bodies behind him, all stacked up. And it's one of the craziest things I've ever seen. And then he just runs into this swamp, and it's this loud sound design as he's trying to struggle through this swamp. And it's the most insane thing I've ever seen. And it's amazing that the film also like metaphorically kills Hitler in its final imagery, not literally, but just like the imagery and the editing of just fucking killing Hitler is incredible. I've never seen anything like it. I think like, favorite versus best, I think it might be like one of the greatest human like cinematic achievements on a scale of that. Like that's why for me it made so much of an impact, because it's like, how do you fucking top that? So Come and See, just a fucking masterpiece in every sense of the word. There you go.
Yeah. Number 3 in and out, right? Okay, so Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Ooh.
Ooh Child. I've seen it. It is sort of comfort food. Okay, I could go a few angles, but one of the angles I love is that it was a demarcation mark where old exploitation horror tropes are gone here. Like the music is not the kind of music that would have happened like 4 or 5 years before. Clanking chains through echo, and the cutting is like super punk rock, stab edits, and like just could go on and on, but like one just example to drill down on. I'm realizing maybe scenes are going into this. Is the zoom ins on her eyeball at the end of the film. She's being like tortured by laughter, essentially, at the dinner table. Amazing. And the music's going off. This awful heavy tones, like, and it's just cutting to closer and closer shots of her eyeball while you hear her shrieking and them laughing. And it's like someone could walk into that and go like, what is this? Like, this is not a normal film at all. Like someone who maybe hasn't seen a film in 5 years. The last film they saw was in 1968. They're like, wait, is this an art film?
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
True, yeah.
That specific moment, and many others. And then the slamming the door is one of the big moments of all time. The dread, the big like low note drop, and then the bone room, the set design. I could go on and on. Editing, setting an atmosphere, the tone of dread that's established slowly but surely till it gets to the point of the insane murders of Leatherface's appearance, the close-up of Leatherface looking out the window as the sun is setting. Texas Chainsaw Massacre,
dude. And don't bury the lead, you and I met Jerry not too long ago.
We did. We encountered him.
We will save that for another time, but you and I got to hang with fucking Jerry from Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Okay, Marcus, what's your number 3?
Okay, so number 3, I've always been drawn to surreal movies, so short art films and stuff. But when someone can make a feature-length surreal movie, it's quite an accomplishment. So I had to throw one on the list for me, and I do love this movie. It's I'll probably regret saying that I like it so much, putting it at number 3, but I love it. 1974, sweet movie. Dusan Makayev. Anyway,
sure,
it's it's surreal, it's enigmatic, it's transgressive. It's sort of like almost like a theater clearer at times. You can see people walking out, and I love that part of it. I do, and it's I can't tell you what it's about, but it's got a lot of crazy wild imagery in it. People being poured chocolate all over them, people making love in a pile of sugar. It's got stars. One of the stars is Pierre Clementi, who I love as an actor and as a filmmaker. He made all these amazing art films, psychedelic art films, punk rock art films. Very underrated director. And Dusan himself is just a super cool guy and made a lot of other cool movies. But Sweet Movie for me, just the name. As soon as I heard that name, Sweet Movie, I was like, "What is that? I need to see that." And it really delivered.
Nice.
So. It's a monster, and also it has Otto Mule and his troupe.
Right.
That's a performance art.
Communal living people,
which is essentially it's G.G. Allen performance art, like in the 70s.
Right,
and I'm not exaggerating at all.
It is, yeah.
I'm not like G.G. Allen could open for them, and they'd be like, "Oh, cool, nice set." Right. The Otto Mule's group is in this film. It's amazing. Okay.
I was totally expecting it to make the Marcus list, and I'm very happy it's here.
Oh, nice.
All right, number 2. Maybe this is a surprise to you guys. I don't know if we've really talked about my love for this movie enough, but one we definitely have to cover sooner rather than later. And I love it because I know it. And it's 1996's Fargo by the Coen brothers is number 2. Awesome. The brilliance of using a rural and suburban Minnesota as a backdrop for a simple crime story is incredible. I'm, of course, from Minnesota, so I can identify with this movie in so many ways. It put Minnesota on the map in a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. My poor mother would get ridiculed when she would leave the state, and people would be like, "Oh, you sound like Fargo," stuff like that. I love a good low stakes, small time crime story and the desperate stakes of Fools. More of that coming here. And I love just how it's this. Every character is so fully realized, 360-degree caricature of these perfectly inhabited cast. The balance of the subtle humor with the dark, sort of pathetic small crime. And it really captures that setting just every little detail with such poignancy. There's so many sequences in that film and little details that you might think would hit a cutting room floor, but they're here and they make this movie so much more unique and special. Like, how you see, you see Marge, she's, sitting in her car eating fast food, just a quiet moment of that. Mike Yanagita, motherfuckers, the greatest walk-on performance of any movie ever. This perfectly sad and just incredible depiction of a lonely man that has really nothing to do with the plot of the movie, and there is such a specific brand of Minnesota darkness, that's so unique to that place. Like, here's such a friendly, passive aggressive place, but there is this darkness that lurks there in a very specific way, unlike a lot of other places. And to me, again, it's just perfect human comedy observation of the types of people we grew up around, and it's a perfectly characterized. So, Fargo always be, again, Warren Blanke, can watch it anytime it's on TV. I'm watching it to the end. It's great. Fargo.
Film.
For sure.
Magic. Yeah. It's film magic. So we're at the number 2 scene, and my next one, this is the full title, and I think that by exhibiting the full title, this helps you understand just how this is a huge don't give AF kind of movie. Sweetback's bad ass song. The A's and the S's. So it's Melvin Van Peebles. It's 1971. It's often credited as really getting the ball rolling with Shaft. Blaxploitation, but it's so different. It really is sort of the headline here for me is I always felt like it's like a Black American Godard.
Yes.
This film. It really doesn't give a fuck. And on all fronts, there's no story. There's no characters. It's all just like it's driven by like a funk soul score, incredible Earth, Wind and Fire score. That's kind of a Greek chorus, and it just depicts like a story that's almost like out of Greek or Roman legend. It's just Sweetback is in trouble with the law and he's running away from inner city, trying to just escape the police. So it's just him journeying through these different points and different episodes. And the filmmaking is wild. There's a moment in the film where a police car is being set on fire, and then like there's like it's like a scramble of like 2 different 16 millimeter shots are fused together, but like crudely, like they're not matching well, and they're like slightly overlapping. It feels very lawless, and it feels like it's out of control in a way of, it's like punk rock. You know what I mean? It's angry, and it's saying fuck everything of white culture, including the expectations of what films are supposed to be like, which really does connect, the more I think about it these days, to what Godard was doing with something like Weekend.
Yeah.
And I bet there was a direct influence. I mean, Van Peebles escaped America and he went into France for many years. I don't know what else to say, really. I'll just say this, though. The first time I saw it, I was high. And this is one of those like criteria for this list, and I was high and I couldn't not think about it. It was buzzing in my head because it ends with him in the desert, almost like El Topo, and it says "Watch out" in block letters at the end. Sweetback.
All right, Marcus, your number 2.
Okay, number 2. So, so this is one that I'll probably feel embarrassed I put on the list, but it is, and it's there's a film that you loved, but it gets more popular and more people come to it, and it hurts, it dampens your love for it a little bit, but deep down you still care about it, and that's what happened with this film. So for 1980s Hausu, was a big film. For me, when it was something that no one else knew about, and like it was some AVI file I downloaded off of SoulSeek or whatever. Those are the glory days for me, when and no one even knew that this guy had other movies or whatever. No, I didn't, and it wasn't something that was on tip of everyone's tongue. You couldn't find any DVDs of it or anything. I was so mad when Criterion picked it up. I was like, oh, they have to get everything. They have to get every fucking movie. Every artsy movie they have to own. So. But I was really lucky. Tom and I both got to meet Obayashi, and I cut a trailer we did a festival with him. I cut a trailer for it. He asked me for a copy of the trailer, which is one of the greatest compliments I've ever gotten.
That's great.
And we went to dinner with him. He said all this great inspiring stuff, about creativity and about like shooting the magic of film to bring stills to life. He signed Tom's Banana. he signed my my copy of House 2. I have a picture of them. Anyway, it was just a real magical experience. I love the guy, very inspired, Rip Obayashi, and I had to throw it on there.
Nice.
House 2.
All right, 6 minutes left for our top picks here. Okay, so my number one, guys, this is what favorites are all about. You know, something you discover, and for me, this was 15 years ago, and you call it your own. You know, I claimed this film 15 years ago. It's a masterpiece of 70s crime realism. We, of course, have covered it on the channel, but this was, of course, going to be my number one, and that's Straight Time, directed by Ulu Grossbard. It's in the archives, and, you know, based on the novel by real career criminal Edward Bunker, you know, who sought to make authentic fiction, you know, almost for criminals by criminals, you know, based on his own experiences. Dustin Hoffman plays a bank robber who just gets out of prison and tries to go straight. You know, that's the whole idea. But the injustice of the criminal system, you know, the criminal justice system are all stacked against him, and he has no hope to relate to the outside world. And of course, he breaks out of that and dives first back tragically into a life of crime. And Teresa Russell is the brilliant as the love interest, but she's so much more than that. You know, she's so three-dimensional of a character in this film, which unlike most films of the era, and she really gives, you know, Dustin Hoffman this very tragic sense of hope of what life could be like, you know, if he were to go straight. And of course he doesn't. And it's just Harry Dean Stanton. It's just everything that 70s, you know, that sort of 70s edgy realism crime films promised, and this delivered. And it's a gem, you know, it's not a film that's on the tip of everyone's tongue. And again, I think that's why I picked it as number one. It's something that I love, you know, very intensely, and I've sort of claimed it as my own. And, you know, and it's a film that inspires me, and it's just incredible. And I think anyone who hasn't seen it needs to go out immediately and watch it, and then watch our episode about Straight Time.
Yeah, we did that was one of our that. It's one of the greats.
Yeah.
Come on, man, let's go. Okay,
Yeah.
so my number one is Deep End, Jerzy Skilimowski's 1970 Deep End. I saw it when I was 5 years old. I shouldn't have seen it when I was 5 years
That's
old,
amazing.
but I did. It left an impression on me. I'll never be the same, and I know that. But it's the filmmaking. It's like I try to figure out how to describe it, but like again, I'll just do a scene. I'll pick a scene. It's a little boy, or like a 15-year-old boy, who's really got a big crush on his coworker, and he thinks that this cutout, this life-size cutout of a stripper outside of the strip club, is her, and he fixates on it. He steals this cutout of the stripper outside the strip club. He goes to the pool because he and her work at this pool, and he just throws her cutout of her like being like in a nudie pose. He throws her cutout into the water. The significance of the water. He dives into the water, and he's embracing her in the water, this cutout. And there's so much dynamic things that are happening here. He constructs a circumstance in the normal reality of the narrative to be this really like big Freudian scene that pops, and a visual that pops, and then the ending is devastating.
Yeah.
And again, when I was 5 years old, I saw it. It's like red paint, blood, male and female, full nudity, water again flowing. It's a bummer. It has Mother Sky by Can propulsively dropping.
So cool.
Long scene. And it opens up with this really great Cat Stevens song that's actually very obscure still, where he's bike riding. It's another mood thing. It's special. Personally, I'm very affected by it, but I also think objectively, it's some of the best filmmaking I've ever witnessed.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a master. And Skilimowski does all kinds of great stuff, but that's the one for me. Deep End.
Psychedelic coming of age film. It's amazing. Yeah, awesome. And so much more than that. Marcus, all right, what's your number one?
Very cool number ones, guys. That's really setting me up because, you know, for a really lame big finish, because you know what my number one is.
I'm excited about it.
It's not only, it's the most well-known movie of all time. No, it's not, Wizard of Oz or whatever. It's 1977 Star Wars. Okay, pretty cool pick, Marcus. But, you know, some people might pick Empire Strikes Back as their favorite Star Wars movie. But no, I fuck that shit. Fuck all the other Star Wars movies now, you know, actually. Just the original Star Wars. I find it so inspiring that it's this weird idea that he was able to push through just on his own talent as a filmmaker and promise. Someone gave him an opportunity, and, you know, and it was It wasn't perfect the first time. The script wasn't right the first time. He rewrote it. The film wasn't right the first time. They had to keep editing it.
It's amazing.
They developed all his special effects. Like he really had to keep revising and working on it to make it a good movie. Otherwise, it would have been a total piece of shit. All the franchise and stuff that came afterwards gave me the willies. Anything after the original saga, just it bums me out. I don't even like to talk about it anymore. Maybe this might be the last time I mention it, but whatever. It's got to be. It's kicked off a whole thing, not just for me, but for lots of people. So yeah, Star Wars. I'm gonna have to go with it as my number one.
Right on.
Right on.
Well, we did it, folks. We got
that was it.
Seconds to spare.
Seconds to spare.
We hit it. We were very disciplined.
We
2
were.
fucking minutes.
I'm very proud of y'all. Incredible, Marcus. I expect nothing less than Star Wars. Also, shout out. We got to say, your birthday episode, your first birthday episode we did was on Star Wars. And I thought we did it very well because we treated that shit like it was just any other film from 77. So that's in the archives.
Right.
All right, everybody. Thank you, everybody. All right, that is our respective top 10 films of all time list, guys.
So is Birthday Boy happy?
Birthday Boy's happy. Hey, I have some films I got to check out, that have been from you guys' lists. Some shit I got to rewatch. I'm inspired. I mean, I think this is great. I think people are going to be very excited to hear, what our top 10 lists are. But you know what? I'm excited to hear what your top 10 favorite films of all time are. So everybody get in the comments and comment with what your top 10 films of all time are. I really want to hear what you guys think because I love looking at lists.
I want the comments to all be top 10s.
Yeah.
All top 10s. Listomania.
Go Listomania.
Join the mania.
That's my birthday present. That's the birthday present to me. If you guys, everyone watching this right now, comment with your top 10 favorite films. I want to see hundreds of lists before I wake up tomorrow. So,
and I must say, I did honor the ascension of personal significance from 10 to 1. It was not random.
Boom. There you go. I know that's hard to do. It's hard.
That was a unique exercise. I just don't do
nice.
That. But I did adhere to that in this case.
I might have been a little looser with that, to be honest.
Besides number 1, right?
Besides number 1 and number 10.
And number 10. Yeah, those are the easy
6.
ones. Those are the easy ones. In the middle is where it gets hard. I definitely shuffled things around at the last minute, but number 1 was clear to me. The top 3 were clear to me, but
it occurred to me that I think I said that Slacker was my number 1 favorite film when we did that episode, but then I had to
see.
I didn't want to talk about it again.
All right, there you go.
And you guys are killing me with some really rock solid stuff that I even forgot. Like Sweet Movie. So it is cool to be sort of reminded.
There you go.
And there's so much more.
There's so much more. I mean, there's so many films that didn't.
Come on.
There's so many films that barely made. That barely missed the cutoff, that I feel very bad about, but that's the way it goes.
You know what's great? Black Moon. Louis
I know.
I love it. Yeah.
I know.
Isn't that great?
It's great.
But it's not on my list.
Dude, Welcome to the Dollhouse was brutal to leave off.
Oh, I know. I was thinking about Solins.
Brutal.
He didn't quite get on this list, but geez.
It's fucked up.
That's Solins.
I know.
I mean, so I'm a storytelling guy, kind of.
I know.
I know. The short list was very long. There's probably 100 movies on the short list.
I did have a Hard Day's Night and Help.
That's cool.
And something something Evan said, I forgot.
Straight Time.
Oh, we both picked Goodfellas.
That's the only overlap.
Jinxed it again.
Yeah.
That's
funny.
fucking Goodfellas, man.
I thought you guys would think that was like, hit the cringe button on that one. My good.
No, I think
it was on my short list too, but then I second guessed myself the way that you're saying.
See,
I can't tell those guys at Goodfellas.
But I'm just being honest. It's like
I know. I had to be honest. And I said,
when you like so many movies, like it's for me at a certain point, it is sort of, in a way, the middles are a little irrelevant. The order, or there's stuff that didn't make my list that could easily have. You know what I mean?
Sure. It's just today's list.
I had to pick 10 for Evan.
It's today's list, and just to cite Goodfellas, that was one for me where it's like, if I'm being honest with myself about a favorite, it has to be on there. Yeah. And I think it would be for a lot of people if they were honest. Because it's fucking Goodfellas.
Just let it go, man. Just
let it rip. So anyway, okay, there you go.
Like, just let it all hang out.
Okay, so
Isn't
let's
it all right. Moving on.
let's put a cap on it there. That was our top 10 favorite films of all time list. Listomania in full effect. We're gonna do some more Listomanias. We have plenty of other ideas for that down the line, so get psyched for those. Hope you guys like the format. Now let's talk about what we're doing next on the show. You might have noticed, if you got your calendar in front of you, it's almost October, and you know what that means. It's time for One Fucking Tober, the 3rd edition, right? Part 3. Isn't that right?
Wow,
right.
It is. Yeah.
And it's going to be in 3D.
It's going to be in 3D. So this is the horror movie marathon is about to start on the channel. We haven't yet fully dialed in the full lineup for what all 4 weeks will be of the One Fucking Tober program. But
it's the order is the question mark, but
yeah,
we
got the
locked in
films.
some sick special apps, right?
We got the films on lockdown, so we're going to unveil the program shortly. Stay tuned. If you're not following us on Instagram at One Fucking Hour, you might want to do that because that's where we're going to announce it. And but we can announce here what the 4th week of October, the Halloween week of October, what that episode is going to be. I'm very excited about it, and it's going to be a marathon because it's Tom. There's no way we're going to be able to do the 1 hour clock on that, right? That's just going to be impossible.
I think so. If we look at it a certain way,
okay,
and I could get a little more. It's just like it's all one long film, and you're looking at trends and how things are evolving and devolving.
Yeah,
sure. It's not about like, and now in this film it starts in this scene. It's more the way I'm saying it.
Okay,
it's one long film.
So what are we doing? Tell us what the alt.
Well, we're doing another One Fucking. So now we're branding One Fucking franchise.
Yeah.
Okay. Like One Fucking movie, or what is it? One Fucking hour.
One Fucking season.
Fucking season. Yeah. So this is a One Fucking franchise, premiering that brand, and this will be a masterclass in the Friday the 13th movies. Inspired by the Friday the 13th we just had. And guess where I was? If you were looking for me, you would have found me watching every one of them, during that weekend, not the whole day. And because that's what I do. These films are, we just did the favorite list. I don't know if they're like favorites, but it is very comfort food. Like throwing on 3 and then 2. I always do 3, 2, 1 or 3, 1, 2 actually. And then 4 and 6, maybe 5. But that is comfort food 101. I'm an expert. I love observing the trends. I'll just give you one example that what we'll talk about as far as trends is the Joker, the goofy guy.
Yeah.
From the first 4. They kind of stopped it around the 4. We'll get into that extensively and analyze each of the guys and how that progressed,
Sure.
So it's that kind of shit.
Okay. I'm fucking stoked. So for Halloween week, that'll be the last installment of the One Fucking Tober Part 3 series. Halloween week, we're gonna do One Fucking franchise masterclass on the Friday the 13th film.
Start watching them now. You
Yeah,
don't want to save it
exactly.
till the last week. So you got parties to go to. You got to take your kid trick or treating. You're not going to have time to squeeze them all in.
Or you've seen them all many times. Yeah. And just to be clear, these are the Friday the 13th. We're going to mention the Jason films when they lost the rights to Friday the 13th titling and they became Jason films. We'll mention it, but this is a Friday the 13th series, one to 8 or.
So that's 8 is Jason Takes Manhattan, right? That's the last. Okay. Right.
Yeah.
So
it's funny about you wouldn't have a problem binge watching a season of a show, but for some reason watching a whole franchise sounds like a lot of work, but it's really just the same.
It does. Think for yourself.
Yeah. All right. So everybody,
I'm resisting every moment of my life. I'm resisting not watching Friday the 13th, or more this way. Every day I'm doing something other than watching Friday the 13th. Like right now, I could just be watching Friday the 13th.
All right, so
yeah,
it sounds like a lot of work to me, but I'm committed.
Get your pre-watch in if you want to watch along, and then get the build up for the big show. Start watching
1 through
now.
8. You don't have to do the Jasons.
No,
They will be mentioned.
Yeah, that's further reading. That's not required reading. Okay, and so strap in for one fucking Tober. Keep your eyes on the social medias. We're going to announce the other 3 weeks, the other 3 films we're going to cover for the month. Very excited about that. And of course, we'll have some bonus apps around there too, which reminds me, shout out to the One Fucking Hour Patreon, patreon.com/onefuckinghour. If you want to support us, it's the best way to do so. $5 a month. You get our new bonus app talking all about 90s music. It's a blast. And of course, get 24-hour early access to all the other shows. So we appreciate you. Thank you, everybody. And I don't know what this is going to be, but we can't leave you without your Moment of Zen. All right, everybody.
It's
all right, happy birthday to me and to all of you, and we'll see you on the flip side. All right, take care, everybody.
And everybody wish Evan a happy birthday out there.
Oh, thank you very much. Bye.
The universe.
It was more the acid that was poured on me to make me smoke, to make the character smoke. I remember
it's true. We did pour acid on you.
I kept saying, is there no other way?
Mild acid. It's a very mild acid.
Yeah, very mild. Is there no way that we can just put some smoke in there somewhere in the clothes that I can smoke rather than having acid being poured on? With fire and acid and those kind of things, you never know.
Well, you know when that stuff starts to get around the face.
Exactly, too much, or in the eyes. Yeah. You know, it burns a little bit.
Motherfucking goddamn orange peel beef.
That was wicked, man.